Hi, I'm B. I'm from DanceWize, a program of harm reduction Victoria. I've been part of the team for about 3 years, and previous to that, I was volunteering with the team. And I also have a background in youth work and crisis support. And so I'm here to chat about some of the basic trip sitting principles that we use in our training for DanceWize volunteers. And these are from the Zendo project training manual. So one of the first ones would be creating a safe space. And so I think that's important, whether you're at home, whether you're in a festival setting, whatever it is, it's about thinking about what is the sort of perfect or preferred kind of setting for you to be tripping in. Is there comfy things available? Do you have warm clothes you can access? Is there heating? Is there comfy blankets, all that kind of thing? And just having that environment that's really nice, even thinking about lighting. Do you have warm lighting rather than really harsh, bright white lighting? Anything that you need to feel more comfortable in that environment and getting that ready, preferably before you start tripping, would be probably a good thing to do. And then if you are with someone who's tripping, so the idea of a trip sitter, this is something we do at DanceWize. The idea of a trip sitter is not to lead or guide the person having the trip. We're not pretending to be shamans or anything like that. It's literally about being supportive as passively as possible is really important. Whatever someone is experiencing during their trip, that should be valued and respected. And we're not trying to change or challenge what is going on for them, but merely provide that support and compassion, things like holding hands, hugging them if they consent to that, and being curious about that experience is really important. Talking through it and not talking down. So these 2 points are in regards to someone, usually a sober person, providing care for someone who may be tripping. And that's about if the person tripping does want to talk through what's going on, to let them do that. And again, to not be undermining their experience, to not be like, oh no, it's fine, it's totally fine. If they're saying they don't feel fine, we're not going to do that. We're going to make sure that whatever they're experiencing is valid, but also just doing gentle calming techniques if that is needed. So things just like deep breathing with people, if they're getting paranoid or something, just trying to alleviate those things, but also not controlling what the situation is. And also just not lying to people. If someone has just taken a tab of acid 2 hours ago, don't say it's almost over, because it's obviously not almost over, and that's actually probably just going to heighten their distress. It's better to be quite reasonable with people and say, look, this is the length of time we have, so let's just look at it with curiosity. If you're not feeling this, let's just walk into a different environment together. And often that might really help someone, is just moving from that setting can often change that person's set or mindset a lot of the time. So just being able to help with things like that, with putting on shoes or taking off socks, that kind of thing, is often so much more helpful than, say, trying to tell them what's actually going on for them, because you don't know what's actually going on in their internal self. Difficult is not the same as bad. And so at DanceWize, we never talk about bad trips, because I think that is a really damaging concept. We always talk about challenging trips. I think a lot of trips are quite challenging or difficult, but that's not necessarily bad. And I totally get that when people want to take psychedelics purely in a party or fun setting, that when challenging feelings arise, that can be distressing and that might not be what they wanted or expected. However, I think often challenging trips are where people really grow and will often find something really important from that trip. And so it's important to acknowledge that it can be really hard sometimes and quite challenging to go through, especially when you're experiencing quite difficult emotions. But also to be like, look, well, maybe this is trying to tell you something, and maybe you're going to find out something about yourself during this. And so let's just see what happens, and just coming back and letting the person know that they're safe, they're not in any physical danger, and just really allowing people to go through that. If people need to cry, whatever it may be, I think that can be a really beautiful experience. And again, I think it just comes back to acknowledging the difficulties of it, yet not trying to push that down and pretend it's not happening. In regards to lockdown, if you do have access to nature where you live, like I'm quite lucky here in Melbourne, I live near the Darebin Creek. And so being able to walk down to the river and be within nature. However, if you can't do that and you're in lockdown and you are kind of just within your own household and you're tripping, and again, that might not be something that you're quite as comfortable with, I think it does really come back to setting and ensuring you do have a nice environment. I know for me personally, usually when I trip, I try not to have my phone on me because I don't like using my phone or accessing my phone. However, sometimes friends and I will decide if someone's going to trip that the other person who's not tripping can call them during that time if they need to, and doing things like setting up a speed dial for that friend who's pretty cool with you tripping and happy to just chat to you. I know it can be super weird sometimes talking on the phone while tripping. It's not something I would generally recommend. However, we are in unprecedented times during lockdown, and I think sometimes having that buddy who would usually be your like trip buddy can sometimes be really helpful, especially when you are kind of working through those difficult experiences, or even when you're having a really good time. I think as well that's something that often gets missed in our training is there can be so many beautiful and wonderful elements of tripping, and being able to share that with your loved ones is still important, even in lockdown. And so being able to reach out to people and having a trip set buddy over the phone, as weird as that sounds, I think is a really good thing. And another thing I'd also often go on about is aftercare, is plan before you trip. Check what's in the fridge, check what food you have available. Are you going to do your Uber Eats order, like 5 hours earlier, so it's organized and ready to go when you come back down, things like that. It's just going to make it such a nicer situation than if you're just all alone, you're just thinking about these things, you're ruminating, and then you come back down and don't have anything to eat, you're feeling cold, those kind of things. So just prepare as much as possible and get cozy, and hopefully it should be a pretty good time. Well, all the trip sitting principles that I touched on, they're through the Zendo project training manual, which I can link to, as well as all the DanceWize resources. and High Ground. So we do a collaboration with all our educational resources with High Ground.